All right, welcome back to Developing Your Business Plan. This is going to be part 4. We are going to start looking forward and really get into the meat of our goal setting today. So we've gone through the first 3 parts already. We've looked back, we've defined our why, we've done our business reflection, and I know that probably took you a while. There was some heavy lifting in there, but it's going to come into play here as we go through this segment of the business planning. And then you've done your SWOT analysis. Now we kind of flip our thinking here and we start looking forward at what we're going to do in the next year. The first piece of this is going to be, hold on just a second, I'm having some issues with something on my screen here. All right, the first thing that we are going to go through with goal setting, there's kind of 2 pieces to this. And the first thing is everybody's favorite, the spreadsheet. I think you'll be pretty pleased this year. I've taken that really overwhelming spreadsheet and completely simplified it. Now, if you want to use that big 6-tab spreadsheet, it's still posted on Genius. It's still in the agent training drive under the 2020 business planning resources. But for 2021 and moving forward, I've simplified the spreadsheet. So let's take a look. You're going to be able to access this. I put it on a tiny URL for you. So here's the URL to access it. It's the bit.ly and then it's /KCHBizPlan. So if I click on this link, I'm going to open the business plan. Now, the first thing that you're going to want to do when you open this is make a copy of it so you can start editing. You are set up right now to be able to view this and not edit it. So let me walk you through how to do that real fast. Right up here, this is going to open in Google Sheets for you. Right up here underneath the title, you're going to hit File and then make a copy. And you can name it whatever you want. I suggest putting your name. And then what folder do you want to save it in? You don't want to save it in My 2021 Business Planning. You want to save it on your own drive. So I'm hitting this back button right here. And I'm going to get all the way back to my drive. And then if I want to select a folder that I've made for business planning, I could do that. I'm just going to hit select and pop it in my drive and hit OK. When I do that, you'll notice a new tab has opened here, and this is my business plan. Excuse me. I can make edits to this, do what I want. Nobody else can see it, but that's how you want to make your copy of the actual spreadsheet. So this is going to look a little bit different. As I mentioned, I've really simplified this. You've got 2 tabs now. We've got our business expenses, and then we have our goals. So on the business expenses, you might already have this information. And let me just say, and I've said this if you've taken this in the past, that when you look at your expenses, we're not necessarily looking at what you're going to turn into your accountant to do your taxes. I want to know on business expenses what you're actually spending money on every year. What are you writing checks for? What are you using your business credit card for? And put all those expenses right here on this spreadsheet. It used to be that I had you do this by month. Again, I've simplified this. So in the first column here is your actual from this year. The second column is going to be your budget, and they might be identical. Although you need to really think about, and we might be coming back to this after you do your SMART goals, is there anything that you need to be doing this year or this coming year that you're going to beef up a little bit and spend some more money on? Which is why I want you to go through this process. You've got to understand how much money you're investing in your business, because we've got to take that into account when we start looking at your income goals for next year. So you can either use this spreadsheet here, up here at the top, your business expenses, or if you know what those are, if you track those in a different format, or there's a different spreadsheet or a different method that you use, you can always come right down here to the bottom and just plug those numbers in for me. So if I know that my actual this last year, I'm just going to make up some numbers, was 48,000, and my budget for next year, I'm going to add a couple things. I want to do things a little bit different. So my budget is 52,000. If I can type correctly. Now, I have kept the personal expenses down here. And this confused a lot of people in the past. They were like, well, do I need to put my personal expenses? That is all dependent on how you have your business set up. If you want to make sure as you're setting your goals that you take into account how much you need to run your household, then you might want to include your business expenses here. If not, then don't worry about this section. You see right here at the top, I put that this is optional. You don't have to do this, but for those of you that really want to see, okay, how much am I spending on my business? How much am I spending to live every year? And then I need to make sure that my income at least covers that, and maybe gives me a little bit more in the bank, right? So for this for the purpose of just the example today, I'm just going to keep this simple and I'm not going to do personal expenses. But once I have this complete, I'm going to flip over here to the goals. Now, before I do that, you'll notice that I've got a note up here. Make sure as you're in this spreadsheet that as you're on fields, you don't hit delete, because when you hit delete, it clears out the formulas that are built into this. So if you've accidentally typed something in here and you need to come back and change it, you're like, oh, put that on the wrong line, just put a 0 in and it'll cancel it out. But again, don't hit that delete button. It'll clear out our formulas. Okay, now let's go over to the goal spreadsheet. And again, this is going to look a little bit different than what you've seen in the past. I'm going to make this just a little bit smaller so you can see the full screen here. So you can see that this has already brought over my business budget, my spending for the year. So if I put that on this first spreadsheet, it is going to bring me, it's going to bring this number over to, oh, what did I click here? I don't know what I clicked, but I clicked something. Okay, there we go. It's going to bring that number over to here. Now, if you don't use that first tab, you can always just come over here and you can plug in your own number and our formulas will work. I'm going to take that down because I don't want to see all those extra zeros. I'm going to hit Command Z on that. Okay, now the next thing that I want to do here, and before we dive in, 2 notes for you right up here at the top. Anything that you see on the spreadsheet that is a blue field, that's where you input values, okay? Anything that you see that's a gray field, you want to stay away from. You'll notice as we go down the spreadsheet right now that a lot of things are not calculated. It's because it's going to start pulling in our numbers from up here to calculate all of this stuff down here. So let's work this top to bottom. So we've got our estimated budget and spending. What do I want to earn in gross commissions this year? What is my income goal this year? And I'm going to put it's 100,000. So it's going to total right here for me this 152. And this 152 is what's going to be used as we start filling in this spreadsheet down below. So let's go into the next segment here. And this is where we're really going to start drilling down what you need to be doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to hit this big income goal. Okay. It's one thing to put this big goal. If I want my income to be 100,000 this year, it's one thing to slap that on a piece of paper and stick it up on your wall, but it's another to really break it down into what does that mean for you in terms of appointments, in terms of contacts, how many active buyers and sellers do you need to make that number happen? That's what this spreadsheet is going to do. It looks a little overwhelming when you come into it, but as you go through it, it's going to make more and more sense and really start taking that big number and drilling it down into small, digestible goals. So your business reflection is going to come into play here. That's why we do it in the steps that we do it. The next field that we need to fill out here is your average sales price. I would go back the last year. You've done this in your business reflection. If you want to average the last couple of years, you can. If you're not happy with what your average sales price is and you want to increase that, that's one of your goals this year, then put that number in here. Put that number in here. I would recommend putting in your actual from the last year. Now, some of you are brand new and you don't have transactions. If that's the case, use our company average, which I put right here in this field, the notes field here. Our company average for 2019 was 316,800. The other thing that you might do is talk to your broker and find out what your office average is. They can vary, and they do vary by office. So if you want to drill down even further, have a conversation with your broker. If you're brand new, you're not sure what to put in this average sales price, and they can help you figure out what needs to go in here. So you'll notice as I put that in here, that things started filling out for me down here. But I still want to add a couple other fields or adjust those if need be. The next field that's blue here that I can adjust is your average commission percentage. So again, go back to that business reflection and figure out, are you getting 3% on every single transaction you do? Or are you reducing your commission and your average commission maybe isn't quite at 3, maybe it's at 2.85. And this is going to round for you. So I put in 2.85, it went up to 2.9 for me. You want to be accurate with this number, because if you're not, it's really going to affect all the numbers down below. So again, gut check time, really figure out what your average commission is here. I'm going to put in 2.8. Okay, there we go. So this next gray field, that's auto calculating for you. You don't want to mess with that field. This is telling me that based on my average sales price and my average commission, that my gross commission per transaction is $8,870. Now, we know that we have our commission splits to take into account, correct? So that's the next field that we're going to fill out here, is what is your average commission split? You can either put this in at what you start at the year, or maybe you want to take an average, look at that business reflection, figure out at what point were you going up in the commission split, the scale, and put in your average here. I like putting in the starting because this kind of gives me, I guess, worst case scenario, the bare minimum, right? So I'm going to leave this here at 70. And then it's calculated for me. And if I change this, watch how the number changes right here. This calculates for me what my average net income is per transaction. So if I want to make 152,000 this year and my average net is 6387, this sheet is telling me that I need to have 24 transactions. So again, what I'm doing here and what you're going to be doing is taking that big number, that big nut, and drilling it down. I've already drilled it down to the point that I know I need 24 transactions. Now we're going to drill down a little bit further with this next section. This is where we start parceling out, working with sellers and working with buyers. The first field that we're going to do here is what is our desired percentage of listings. Some of you will want to go back to your business reflection and see what has that ratio been? And if you need to change that, or if you want to adjust that, then you adjust it here. So if I say I want my average, or I want my 75% of my transactions to come from listings, it's automatically going to calculate the buyer field over there. I make that bold. It's driving me nuts that it's not. And then it's going to start drilling down numbers for me. Now this is where it gets a little bit dicey. Okay, and where you're going to get, probably a lot of people get a little stuck here. So let's talk about this. So this gray field tells me based on, I want 75% listings, 25% buyers. Remember, I've got this 24 number up here. It's going to tell me I need 18 sellers to close and 6 buyers. Now we're going to figure out what is our closing ratio and how many buyers and sellers do we need to be meeting with to get to these big numbers right here. So your next percentage here, and these red percentages are either our office or company averages. Some of them are pulled in from Realogy. This is a spreadsheet that was provided to us by Amy Shrew and her team at BHG. I've changed some of these to give you a company average versus using a national average. You might want to change, you can change these percentages in red. If you are tracking these and you know what these numbers are, then go ahead and change what's in red here. So this first block is your pending to close ratio. So how many people do you get under contract and then they actually close? Okay, not just you're going out and showing them, we'll get to that in a second, but how many are under contract that close? So what you want to figure out is what's your percentage of deals that flip on you? Our company average is about 12% on both sides. We don't really track based on listing or buyers, so I've kept it the same. The national averages are within about 0.5% of each other, so I think it's fair to keep these pretty static. So this 88% is our company average. I'm not going to mess with these. I'm going to leave this alone. Again, if I know my number, I could fill that in. So then it's going to calculate for me, okay, if I'm closing 88%, of what I have under contract, then I need to have 21 listings under contract to get to this 18. Now, drill down further. How many active clients actually go under contract? So do I have listings out there that I list that I never sell, that never get to the contract point? Do I have buyers that I run around and show houses to and they never end up buying? I would want to change these percentages if I know these. As you change this percentage, let's say you're at 92% here, it's going to change this number, and these are going to be rounded. So it might not change it. If you don't change that percentage a whole lot, you're not going to see a big shift in that. But this number is then calculating, okay, how many active people do I need to be working with? And this tells me I need 23 sellers in my pipeline. I need 9 buyers in my pipeline to get to 7 pendings, to get to 6 closes, to get to this big 24 number. Okay, next one. These are appointments. How many people, both sellers and buyers, do I need to get in front of to start working with to get to that big number? These are a little bit harder to track. A lot of people don't track their appointments versus becoming client ratio. So this average is used from the 2017 profile of home buyers and sellers, and I've checked and that number has not changed drastically. If you want to adjust these numbers because you know your conversion ratio, you can absolutely do that. So once that is converted, and that needs to be dark gray, I apologize, I'll change that on the master for you. But this tells me right down here, after all of those numbers, this tells me if I want to get to 24 closed transactions, that I need to be meeting with 28 sellers and 11 buyers based on all these numbers we just put in. Hopefully you're with me and it's making sense. So now let's go down to the next section here. And our next section here, this first one is actually pre-populating from above, and it's telling me my average number of appointments needed to close one transaction. It's telling me my ratio here is really kind of 50% because this number is rounded up. It's telling me that I really need 2 appointments to get one. So my total number of appointments needed, and this is combining these 2 numbers, is 39. It's calculating both of those together right there. And again, that needs to be gray because you don't touch those numbers. Next one that we're going to touch here is the number of working weeks per year. So if I know next year I'm going to take a 3-week vacation, then I want to put in this that I'm only going to work 49 weeks. What this little section is doing is it's drilling down to how many general contacts, how many people do I need to be contacting every day? So at 49, it's telling me, and again, this number is rounded up, that I need about 1 appointment a week to get to this big number up here. That to me is much more doable and drills it down so much further than just slapping 152 up on the wall on a sticky note. I now know, and I can hold myself accountable to 1 appointment a week. This number right here is the average number of prospecting contacts needed to result in 1 appointment. That's based on this 2. I know I need 2 appointments to convert one, so it's telling me I need 100 total for the year to result in the transactions that I need. I am going to put right here the number of days I work per week. So I'm going to put 6 in here. I work 6 days a week, and it's going to tell me that I need to contact 17 people a day to result in these. That number is not right. Average number of oh, I know what's wrong. I messed with this earlier, and that number is not 100. So excuse me, I'm going to backtrack here for a second. Average number of prospecting contacts. So this is my conversion ratio. How many people do I need to contact to get 1 appointment? Most people don't know this. I hope that in the future you will track this. But how many phone calls, how many of those ninja forward calls are you making to get 1 appointment? How many times do you have to, post on social media to have a conversation with somebody to get an appointment? So I'm going to say here that I need 25 to get one appointment. So this is telling me based on the fact I need one appointment a week, if I need to make 25 calls, and I'm going to make 25 calls a week. And if I'm working 6 days a week, then this number down here is 5. That means I need to be making 5 contacts a day to get to this, to get me to this 24, to get me to this big number. Much easier as you start narrowing it down to how many people you need to be talking to a day. That's how you hold yourself accountable to your goals. Breaking it down into smaller pieces, smaller pieces. So this is a number right here. That is my magic number. And if you've taken the value prop class, they talk about your sleep number. This is the sleep number right down here. I know if I don't make 5 contacts a day, I'm going to have a really tough time getting to these big numbers. Okay. That's the spreadsheet. As I mentioned, if you've done this in the past, I've simplified it dramatically for you. I know some of these are still going to confuse a lot of people. If you have challenges with this, feel free to reach out to me, call me, email me. I'll help walk you through this. Your brokers can help walk you through this. But this is the number we want to get to right down here, this 5. This is what you're going to hold yourself accountable to, and your broker is going to hold you accountable to every week, is that number. Okay, so I'm going to keep this open and we're going to pop back over here because now we're going to take this and we're going to start going into the second part of our goal setting. So hang with me. Second part of our goal setting is going to be taking these numbers and setting some SMART goals. And what are SMART goals? That S stands for strategic, specific. The M, measurable, meaningful, something that's going to motivate you. Attainable, achievable. That are relevant, realistic. They're going to be results-driven goals. And then T, timely, tangible. So let's look at how we're going to set our SMART goals. I like using the 1-3-5 method. It works well. You have one big goal, and that one big goal, going back to our spreadsheet, can be one of these big numbers. Maybe my one big goal is the 152 I need in income, or it's the 24 transactions that I need. That can be your one main goal. And then under that are going to be 3 strategies. So if I know I need to do 24 transactions, what are the strategies? What are the 3 strategies that are going to get me there? And then under those strategies are my objectives. Those are my tactics. Those are the things that I'm going to be doing on a day in and day out basis to get me to that one big main goal. So in your workbook, you have a sheet, and I think I might have put 2 copies in there in case you mess up the first one, or maybe you want to do 2. But let's talk about what this might look like if I was setting those 1-3-5 goals. Let me give you some ideas here on what this looks like in real life. So if my main goal is 15 transactions, that's my big main goal. I know after doing all these numbers that number right there is 15. I'm going to make that my big main goal. What do my strategies then look like? How am I going to get there? My first strategy is going to be consistent contact with my COI. Now, this is where we start going back to that business reflection again. And remember when I had you drill down into where your transactions are coming from? This is where we start pulling some of that data in and some of that information in. What's your niche? What type of clients have you been working with and how do you exploit those? This is where in our strategies and objectives that we start using that information. I didn't have you do it just to do it. There was a rhyme and a reason behind it. And this is why. This is where we start using that SWOT analysis. How do we weave those into our strategies and our objectives? So my first strategy under this main goal is consistent contact with my COI. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean for me? That's where I start defining my objectives. And I put on there 5. I like for you to have 5. If you have more than that, great. If you have a few, maybe you only have 3, that's fine too. But they need to be, that's where you get into those really measurable, tangible pieces of goal setting that you can hold yourself accountable to. So my first objective might be I'm going to do 10 handwritten notes per week. If I do 10 a week, remember back here, I'm going to change this number. All these numbers are going to change. Oh, maybe not. Down here, I'm still at my 5, but I know I need to get to 5 general contacts a day. So how am I going to weave those into my objectives? First thing I'm going to weave in is my handwritten notes. That'll cover 2 per day, right? I'm going to send the monthly e-newsletter. Stay in front of people, stay in front of my COI. I'm going to do 4 face-to-face meetings a month, so 1 a week. My next one is going to be 15 calls per week. And then I'm going to plan a client appreciation event. All of these start funneling back up to that contact goal so you can get to your 15 transactions. These objectives, these are the things that I can put on my calendar every week that are going to help me reach that big goal. These are my tactics right here. These are the things I do every week, day in, day out, week in, week out, to get to that goal. So let's look at, I still have my big main goal. Let's look at another strategy for this. I still have 15 transactions. My first strategy was consistent contact with my COI. I know a lot of business comes from there for me, so that needs to be one of my strategies. Second strategy needs to be to add to my COI. I need to nurture that COI, and I also need to be adding more people to it. It's a constant ebb and flow. So I put my second strategy here is adding 120 people to my COI over the course of the year. How am I going to do that? How do I break that down into tangibles? I do that in my objectives. So I've got join a community organization, go out and volunteer, host 2 open houses a month, get in front of people, start farming my neighborhood, attend 4 networking events, 1 a quarter. I'm going to pick an organization. Maybe it's KCADC, it's the chamber, it's, the Young Professionals Network. It could be inside or outside of the industry, but I'm going to attend 4 networking events and put myself out there so I can get in front of people, shake hands. Hopefully we'll be shaking hands next year, but get in front of people to meet more people to add to my COI. And then the 5th thing I'm going to do here is create a social media content calendar and plan, because I know that if I have a strong social media presence, that I can interact with new people and start adding again to my COI. So again, I go back when you start doing your objectives. This is where you want to look back at that business reflection, look back at that SWOT analysis. All right. I thought I had one more on there for you, but I don't. Hopefully this gives you enough guidance, enough information so you can start pulling together this piece of your plan. This piece of your plan is going to take you the longest. It is. Going through that spreadsheet, going through your budget. And if you need to ballpark your budget for right now, then do that. But at some point in time, one of probably the biggest things that most people in real estate falter with, and that is the financial side. Most of us as real estate agents, we're entrepreneurs. We are business owners, and we are not great at tracking our finances. Our income does this, as does our bank account. And we don't have a good sense as to where we're spending money and what we're spending money on, because many of us don't track it. Start tracking that. Get a handle on what you're spending. Know what that number is. Know what you're going to spend in the coming year so you know how much you need to make to cover that. And leave a little bit of money in your bank account so you can do the fun things that lead back to your why, right? Okay. If you have challenges, if you need help working through this, this is probably the most challenging part of the whole process, is this goal setting, working through that spreadsheet and working through those objectives, the 1, 3, 5 goals. If you need help, lean on me, lean on your brokers. That's what they're there for. They're there to help you. We're here to help you develop this business plan that will do what? It will make you more money. And that's why we're all in real estate, right? I hope that's why you got in real estate. That's why I got into real estate, was to make money so I could have a good life for my family, which is my why. All right. I will see you next time as we go through the last piece of our 5-step plan, and that's our strategic plan. Our strategic plan, just to give you a preview, is where we start taking all of those objectives that we now have on that sheet of paper and we start plotting them out and figuring out, okay, where do I need to put these things? There's some things that are going to go on my calendar every week. There's some things that are quarterly. I need to start planning out my year. I need to start planning out what I'm going to be sending to my COI and when, what I'm going to be spending money on. That's our strategic plan. So I will catch you next time as we wrap up business planning with strategic plan. Have a great day. And again, if you need help, feel free to reach out. We'll see you soon.